Hello everyone, welcome back again with me. In this video, I would like to show you one of my routines as a teacher. I'm teaching creative writing class actually. And I'm gonna show you how I prepare myself before the class and what I do before starting the online learning with my students. First, the day before the class starts, I search for and collect materials that I will convey to my students. I usually get them from books and also the internet. I try to design everything as attractively as possible so my students can understand the materials well. The next day, about half an hour before class starts, I prepare all my teaching needs, such as laptop, notes, books, and of course the comfy space, at least for me myself. Once I think everything is enough, I will share the Zoom link with my students. And after that, I started the class with my students. So let me show you how I run my class and teaching my students. And for today's material is about narrative text. Let's check it out. Okay, thank you students for joining the class on time. So like what I said last night on our WhatsApp group, that our discussion today is about narrative text. And at the end, I will also give you an interesting project, which is a continuation of this narrative text. But firstly, let's talk about narrative text itself. I believe that narrative text is familiar to you. Narrative text is a story, an imaginative story with complications or problematic events, and it tries to find the right solutions to solve the problems. And an important point or an important part of narrative text is the narrative mode, which is the set of methods used as to communicate the narrative through a process of narration. And so what is the purpose of narrative text? So basically, narrative text is to entertain, or to amuse the reader with a story. And it can also enrich the reader's knowledge about local culture, for example. And just like other texts, narrative text also has generic structures. Here we have orientation. So orientation is, for example, sets the scene. Sets the scene is a part of the orientation, which is it talks about where and when the story happened, and also introduce the participants of the story, like who and what is involved in the story. And then for the second general structures, we have complication. So in complication, it tells the beginning of the problems, which leads to the crisis of the main character. And then also here we have resolution. So resolution is where the problem is resolved, either in a happy ending or in a sad or tragic ending. And the last, we have reorientation here, as you can see on the screen, or we can call it coda. So this is basically a closing remark to the story, and it is optional. And it consists of a moral lesson or advice from the writer. Okay, that's all about the generic structure. So students, if you have something to ask while I'm explaining the material, just raise your hand. I will continue the material to save the time. And then here we have language features of narrative text. We have 6 here. So the first is past tense. As you can see, we can use the word like killed, drunk, and etc. And then we also have adverb of time, like once upon a time, one day. And then we also have time conjunction, like when, then, suddenly, and etc. We also have a specific character here. And the character of the story must be specific, not general. Like here, for example, like Cinderella, Snow White, Alibaba, and etc. And we also have action verbs. So action verb is a verb that shows an action, like kill, duck, walk, run, and etc. And in narrative text, we also have direct speech. So it is to make the story lively. And for the example, you can see on the screen. And for the narrative text, actually, we have many types of narrative text. Here, as you can see, we have 7 types of narrative text. There are legend, myth, fable, fairy tale, personal experience, romance, and also science fiction. For legend, so legend is one type of folktale actually in the past that had to do with historical events of the origin of the place, accompanied by miracles, supernatural powers, and features possessed by the characters. And also here we have fable. Yeah, so fable is one type of imaginative text where the characters in the story are played by animal characters who can talk and behave like humans. And then also we have myth. Myth is a type of narrative text that tells us about a myth that occurs in an area, for example, and is usually often embellished with spiritual things, which will create tense sensation for the reader. Yeah, and then next we have fairy tale. So fairy tale is one type of narrative text that is much in demand by children. Yeah, because the author often embeds an amazing element of magic in the story. And then next we have personal experience. So personal experience contains stories of personal experiences from the author or stories of someone's life journey that are inspiring. And then next we also have romance. Yeah, as the name implies, this type of story contains a love story that contains elements of, for example, like struggle and sacrifice, so that it can make the reader feel the romance of the written story. And then the last, we have science fiction. So science fiction is a speculative type of fiction in which there's a discussion about the influence of imagined science and technology on society. And here I will also give you some tips of how to write a good and exciting narrative text. So the first thing that you have to do is decide a viewpoint or point of view. Yeah. So the first step in writing a narrative text is to establish a point of view. So plan to relate a narrative paragraph from the perspective of the first person, for example, or the third person. You can use I, him, or them as the subject of narrative. And then also you use a consistent form of time. Yeah, so writing the next good, exciting narrative is by using a consistent form of time. So when you write the narrative, make sure you only use one form of tense consistently along the paragraphs and avoid changing the tense. Yeah, and exceptions may apply if you move away from present tense and present events. And then the third, you have to make an interesting topic, of course. Yeah, because one way to write an interesting narrative text is to create a few opening sentences that bring joy or tension. Therefore, you must look for an opening line that may rouse curiosity in the reader, and this is necessary in order for the reader to continue to read your text till the end. And then, show the main character. So how to write this type of writing is to display the main character involved in the story. So introduce all the key characters in the story so that your reader can understand your narrative more clearly. So you can show some of the characters you think are having a powerful role in the narrative. And then next is determine the setting of story. Yeah. Another interesting and effective way of writing a narrative is by organizing the atmosphere of the story. So provide the unusual setting for the story you want to tell, and then direct the reader to the time it occurred. So this is help them place themselves as a storytellers and understand his thoughts for every scene in the story. I think that's all. Yeah. So I hope after knowing various things about narrative text, you will understand more. And it is hope that in the future you will not only be a reader, but also can be you can write the narrative text. Yeah, and that's what I will ask you to do. Yeah, to make narrative text as an assignment for you to do that you can submit it next week. So please use your own creativity. I ask you to make a fiction or a fictive narrative text. Yeah, so please let your imaginations run as freely as you can and put them in a narrative text. You don't need to make it too long. Yeah, because what I want is narrative text, not a short story. Not only that, after you finish making the narrative text, I will ask you also to visualize your narrative text into storybook. Yeah. And don't worry, I will send you the example of that through our WhatsApp group. So please observe it, how it works later. And for the editing application, I recommend you to using Canva, yeah, because it is familiar and quite easy to use. Yeah. And I actually also want you to watch a tutorial video maybe, yeah, on how to make this project in Canva. And I actually already asked Nabila Azzahra, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I asked her to make a video tutorial. Is the video ready, Nabila? Would you please show it to us so you can, so your friend can say it?
Wait a minute, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nabila Azzahra, for sharing the tutorial. But students, actually, you can also explore, yeah, yourself later in Canva directly, or you can watch on YouTube. I think there are so many tutorial on YouTube about how to do it. So please be creative. I will not limit your creativity. And so yeah, that's all about your project. Do you have any questions, students? Okay, no, yeah. So good luck for your project. If you have questions or you have some difficulties during your project, please feel free to contact me via WhatsApp. Okay, thank you, students, for your participation in today's class. Let's end our meeting today by saying Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. I hope you enjoy your day, yeah, students, and stay safe. See you next week. Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
That's all, everyone. Hopefully this simple video can inspire you. Cheers for all the teachers all around the world. I hope you all guys stay motivated even in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic. Bye everyone. Thanks for watching.